This is a Soulfire production. Welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Christina. I'm an intuitive channel, 7D healer, business mentor, and manifestation expert. On this podcast, we discuss how to tap into your intuitive gifts, manifest the life you want, create a kick-ass business in flow, and take a holistic approach to health and wellness. Don't forget to connect with me on Instagram at Christina the Channel and on my website, christinathechannel.com. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. Today I am with my very special co-host, Kelsey. Kelsey,
Woohoo!
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. We were just talking about some dietary adventures. Yeah,
Chronicles.
Per usual. Yeah, I suppose I don't chronicle as intensely as I used to with my dietary trials, but you know me, I always love to try new things. And I was guided to eat like an ancient Egyptian, and let's just say it didn't go as well as I had hoped.
I didn't get any details other than you're like, no, it's canceled.
It's canceled after 2 days. Well,
I got a picture of a bowl of I don't even know what.
Purple rice.
Sounds right. Okay.
Yeah.
You just ate like a straight bowl of it? No wonder your body hurt.
No, I mean, I can eat. I ate it with other things. I was making rice, which I don't think that they probably didn't have purple rice back then, but you know, I was just trying to get some more grains and trying out adding a lot more grains into my diet. I got a bunch of gluten-free bread that was like super high quality farmers market, like really good stuff. And yeah, I think I just overdid it, or I actually think that purple rice just doesn't go well because I tolerate white rice quite well. I definitely can do brown rice in smaller quantities. But I very much have, I think, like a quantity issue, so to speak. I have to moderate that. I think it was just too much, but it's leading me back. It's kind of just blowing my mind around a lot of the beliefs I used to have around like what was ancestral eating, so to speak, and just like new levels of eating for the chakras, like, and realizing where I still have biases. And that was like a really important thing for me to face, you know, because in this whole exploration of like, oh, eat like an ancient Egyptian, I started just looking, I was deep into research and doing all this stuff. And I realized I was coming across a lot of resources that I have looked at before. But at the time I was so anti grains and legumes when I first looked at this that I didn't even see it. Like I didn't even see it. I remember like, you know, if like reading about eating for the solar plexus, right? And you think about yellow foods, but there's also like grains and carbohydrates and that aspect to it as well. And I was so biased that when I would read things like that, I just didn't even like see that part.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't even see that part. And now I realized, wow, I really need to, or I would do the same thing with garlic and onions, you know, and it's like, it's not a conscious thing, but it's like, if you know, oh, my body doesn't do well with this, I can read things and like not even see those sentences and not even remember that's a thing. Right? like anytime I
filter it out.
Yeah. Well, here's something that's super interesting that I was thinking about. So garlic and onions, a lot of people with IBS, you know, whatever that means, with SIBO, candida, whatever, right? Gut dysbiosis, feel like they can't tolerate them, you know, and there can be an intolerance, but I have this new theory. Maybe I should channel on this. I think I'm right, to be honest. Well, I used to eat a lot of those growing up, but I also had a lot of weird gut issues. So who knows, you know, it wasn't a controlled experiment. And then as an adult, like I took out garlic for a while because I was on all my gut protocols, right? Garlic and onions. And then when I added garlic in, I would like faint every time I would have a really, really strong reaction to it.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, this
severe.
This just doesn't go well. And whenever I have a lot of garlic, I feel very like nauseous, like all over the place. And I was always thinking about it from like a gut perspective, right? Or like a food intolerance. And then I started to, I was thinking about this. This was the value because I was starting to think about eating like an ancient Egyptian and how they used foods and what they were used for in terms of medicine, but also spiritually. And garlic was used to get rid of dark spirits, right? And so then I was thinking, what if all of these people who are having not everybody, right? It's not going to be like a 100%, but what if a lot of people, myself included, are having that reaction to garlic because it's detoxing us? And I mean, garlic, it can detox us and can kill off fungal overgrowths and, is a good antiviral, like that kind of thing. So it could be a die-off reaction. But also, what about the spiritual perspective of like the lower frequencies are being removed from your body? And I was talking about this with my friend, one of my closest friends, because she just did this parasite cleanse that, if anybody's heard of the milk cleanse. So basically, you're supposed to drink goat milk. She did cow's milk, like raw cow's milk or raw goat's milk. She did raw cow's milk, but you drink that for 8 days while you're on herbals. And it was a huge, like, milk has always been like a fear food for her because she's always had such bad reactions. And she did it and she's never felt better. She was like, it literally healed me. And I've been trying to get to the root of this for so long. And she's like, I can't believe I was afraid of this for so long. And we were talking about how sometimes the thing that your body needs is the thing that gives you the detox reaction, right?
That's exactly the thing. And I've been dealing with this in my own healing journey too. It's like, you have to differentiate between what's a symptom or what you frame as a symptom and what's literally like helping heal you by removing the issue in the first place. Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting mindset shift.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was talking about that too with my friend Mimi. Mimi, hi, if you're listening, about King Coffee, because this is where I think people who are used to doing a lot of protocols, like I'm kind of used to that die-off, right? So I tend to more than not like push through and just see what happens after a week, right? And
most people freak out and stop.
Yeah, a lot of people will freak out after one day. And there's I think also the process of like discernment, listening to your intuition. Obviously, I'm speaking about this as somebody who has worked as an NTP for a long time. I'm not giving advice here, right? For sure, be talking to your healthcare provider, your practitioner, because they'll guide you through this. And like when I would have clients who would have reactions, like I could pretty much tell immediately based on what they were saying was going on. Like, is this a hard no or is this just a die off? So definitely talk to your practitioner. They'll be able to help you. But with King Coffee, when I first started drinking it, I wanted to try it because I was hearing about so many people just healing with this coffee, right? I mean, from the Ganoderma, but, drinking the coffee. And what people would say is it doesn't affect me like normal coffee. Like I don't get the jitters. I feel great. I can drink it before bed. And so I was like, okay, I'll try this. So I try it and I had the worst jitters. I felt so uncontrolled. And I told Mimi and she was like, I mean, it could be a detox thing. Like it could be a diet as it's killing stuff. Like it could cause more jitters. She was like, I really recommend just, potentially decreasing your dose. And so I moved to half a packet and she said, just see how you feel after a week and a half. And after like a week and a half, all the jitters went away. And now, I mean, I could drink it any time of day and I feel fine. I've had it before bed and I feel totally fine. But it was that die off. So it's very interesting. But the garlic thing blew my mind. I'm like, what if the garlic is exactly what I needed? And I've been avoiding it.
Garlic.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm much more interested. Like somebody had, and maybe I can do a whole podcast on this. I think we were talking about, maybe I'll do a solo on this, like how my diet has changed. But everything is like, I think about food from a vibrational perspective now more than anything, right? And like what is the vibration of this? Do I need more grounding? Do I need more cleansing? Every food has its own energy, right? Going off of the color, the feeling. I know certain foods make me feel different vibrationally than others. And so it's just like, what do I need right then? Fats, carbohydrates, proteins, all affects our vibration differently. And I need different things at different times. I did a podcast a while back with Deanna Minnick, who talks about this, I think, really well. And she talks a lot about eating for the chakras. But where the food came from. Like you'll feel different if you buy food from the farmer's market than you will if you go to, Safeway or wherever's around you, Vaughn's, whatever, and get food there. Like it does feel different. It's fun. Parker will sometimes bring home cauliflower from like straight from the field, like when he's out in the farm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he'll bring it home and we'll do like a taste test, and we'll have like cauliflower from the store, and then we have his cauliflower from the field, and we'll roast it, and we literally do a side by side, and it tastes different. Like it tastes different, it cooks different. And you feel different. Like you literally feel different, but I think the other thing is, even with, again, going back to like eating ancestrally, like we were talking about before, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, like those weren't vegetables that were available back in the day, right? These are things that we have modified, essentially, like, crossbred, created. And so that
Beyond
was actually
that, to your point with cauliflower, we've taken ancient foods and made them, they're so specifically bred and like overbred, like what's the word? Hybrid? I don't know.
Hybridized.
Hybridized. Like take an apple, look at the apple now and look at it like hundreds of years ago.
I know.
You're not really eating, even if you're eating a food that has been around a long time, you're not eating it as it was back in that time.
Yeah, well, and I know a lot of people, like when I first went gluten-free, I remember having this conversation a lot. A lot of people who can't tolerate gluten, but they like normal gluten, but they do really well off of ancient grains. I had a really good friend who had that. And so he just only ate ancient grains. And so in this exploration, Parker and I was like, okay, I need to get some ancient grains. I want to try those out and see if and he's like, I couldn't find any around here. And then he's like, well, there's this guy, he knows a farmer. He's like, he's up in a couple hours north. And I'm like, do I really have to like, drive a couple hours north to get my ancient grains? I mean, but it's worth it. But I didn't. I think, these things aren't as accessible, but it is all about the frequency. It's about the vibration, right? And like how we treat our food, even just like for me, charging my food, I send a hi to my food, my drinks. All of those things make a big difference. I write my affirmations on my big mason jar every day to charge my water. All of that stuff really does make a difference. And when people ask, how come I feel different day to day and I'm eating the same foods? Okay, well, it could be underlying issues, right? It could be underlying dysbiosis, for example. But it could also be like the frequency around it. It's also, how are you eating it? Are you excited about it? Are you nervous about it? Are you calm during it? Or I won't even say that, because depending on your human design digestive type, right? Are you eating it in a way that's best for you to absorb the nutrients or not? But then also, like, I can totally change the water in front of me or this coffee in front of me by my intentions with it, by how I speak to it, by how I make it, and so something simple is like when you're making your food, you can be like charging it, saying intentions, or I will often I'll play, like I have affirmations that I just play on a loop, and I'll just like be playing those. I'll be playing my affirmations on a loop while I am cutting my food, cooking my food, preparing my food. And that helps to charge this food as well. And then I don't have to think about it. You can be playing binaural beats. All of this affects how we digest the food and absorb the food. So those are some things to keep in mind as well.
I love that. I actually do that too.
Yeah. It makes a big difference. It really does. So yeah, that's kind of my food rant, but I don't know. I'm gonna go off the grains because it just made me feel so horrible, and reevaluate and see how that feels. It has taken me years to find my favorite vitamin C, and it is by far Paleo Valley's Essential C Complex. I have tried so many different vitamin Cs, so many different versions through all of my detox protocols and all my supplement exploration. And let me tell you, quality is key. And what I love about Paleo Valley is that all of their products are made from only organic whole foods. They're all gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, dairy-free, and non-GMO. And their vitamin C is one of my favorite supplements that I've been taking daily to support my immune system. It's great for reducing fatigue and naturally boosting energy. It's also really helpful for regulating your stress hormone, cortisol. So if you're looking to balance out your stress response, balance out your cortisol levels, which I think a lot of people are, then vitamin C is something helpful to look into. And also helps your skin. So I've noticed that my skin looks a lot more glowy since taking this regularly. And if you're on a detoxification protocol, I'm sure you are aware that vitamin C is key. What I love about Paleo Valley's Essential C Complex is that it contains 3 of the most concentrated natural sources of vitamin C out there: amla berry, camu berry, and unripe acerola cherry. It has been third-party lab tested as the most powerful 100% natural vitamin C product on the planet. And again, quality is everything. Most other vitamin C supplements out there are derived from GMO corn and only contain 1 fraction of the vitamin, ascorbic acid. Paleo Valley's Essential C Complex contains the full spectrum with absolutely no synthetic vitamin C. And let me tell you, that is hard to find. The quality is everything. I cannot recommend this enough. This is one of my all-time favorite products, but I use a lot of things from Paleo Valley. We always bring their beef sticks and superfood bars for travel. Their grass-fed organ complex is amazing. Nature's multivitamin. If you're looking to balance out your B vitamins, get some extra CoQ10 in there. It's a natural source of vitamin A. And their turmeric complex is another one of my favorites that I think most people should have in their arsenal. It is a totally natural anti-inflammatory. And anytime I get any type of pain, whether that be a pain from any type of flare-up from autoimmune in the past, if I get a zit, if I hurt myself in some way, like roll my ankle weird, their turmeric complex always saves the day. So if you want to try out any of these products or any of Paleo Valley's other incredible products, just head to paleovalley.com and you can use my code Christina for 15% off. Again, that's paleovalley.com, paleovalley.com. And my code Christina, Christina, will get you 15% off. I'm getting a lot around goddess diet, like quote unquote goddess diet. And so I'm right now in the midst of exploring that. So we'll see where that takes me.
I'd love to learn more. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to tell me.
I'll keep you updated. It's in process. It's like, they are very clearly guiding me through all of these different diets, and all like these different trials, like for me to be the living experiment. And like, I see value in all of it. I think it was really interesting that I had been getting really strong guidance to read the book, The Starch Solution. I think I told you this. And
yeah,
so I was reading it. And for anybody who hasn't read it, it's Dr. McDougall, and he's like the doctor that really believes in like a starch-based diet. And the gist of it is like half your plate of starch, and then there is half fruit, half vegetables, ish for maximum weight loss essentially, and like healing the body. And so it's like minimal, like very, very low fat. And I'm reading this, and then this whole Egyptian thing comes in, and I'm like, well, ancient Egyptians, it's interesting because it was very much a starch-centered diet, but then the different classes, so to speak, ate differently, right? Like the pharaohs and the elites ate differently than the oracles, than the working class. So it's just very fascinating how that all seemed to kind of overlap.
Well, now you know what status you have to eat for if you're eating for goddess.
Yeah, I'm eating for goddess
that takes that out of the question.
Well, there's this whole
I'm going to explore the peasant diet.
Yeah, well, actually, there's like this whole thing on the internet, like the goddess diet or something, but it's honestly not that helpful. It was basically just like eat whole foods. I don't know, but to be honest, carbs were, from a spiritual perspective, I'm very pro carbohydrate. Carbohydrates were like the main source of energy centered around carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables. So yeah, I feel like there's this whole like, everybody wants to pick a side, and I'm like, you can pick a side if you want. I see value in all of it. I believe in cycling too, but I think also if you just think about the energy of what your body needs, like the feast, like meat, right? Like they would feast on it and then probably not like, and then not have a ton of that meat again until the next feast.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not eating it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then beef jerky for snacks.
Yeah. You know,
it is very interesting.
So I don't know. There's a lot here.
Food for thought.
Mm-hmm. Does it like screw with your head when you hear about me talking about food and then you know what you know about like with protocols and stuff?
A little bit. Yeah, there's definitely some bias there.
Yeah.
But it's true, like back to your earlier point, it's just crazy how much your fear of a certain food that you've been conditioned, you've been conditioned to believe is going to harm you will influence how it actually affects you. Like it's just this ongoing cycle. So you can break free from it. And that's something I'm trying to do right now, but easier said than done.
Yeah. You just brain rewire that, right?
Yeah.
Brain rewire that
shit.
Brain rewire that. Every day, do the brain rewiring meditation in the Channel Collective and do your visualizations and watch the Nutrition for Ascension video in Ascension in the Ascension Activator. There we go. That's what I would suggest. And that other YouTube video I made a couple weeks ago from Raphael on like chronic illness and stress and food. I think that's super helpful.
I love that video.
It always goes back to the basics. But yeah, that's the thing though. I was like yesterday tuning into this a lot. They were just like, look, it's once you figure out the rules of the game, it's actually very simple. Like life is actually very simple once you like figure out the rules of the game, and everything that makes it feel complicated is just that's the illusion. Like that's keeping you chasing your tail. That's the whole point. But then you realize like whatever my brain believes is what my reality is. So at that point,
absolutely,
like, you shift your brain, right? And you focus on raising your frequency. Like it's like as you raise your vibration, different portals unlock, like different levels of the game unlock. And so the fast track is like you control your brain, right? You decide what your brain believes is true. You continue to raise your frequency and you just, there you go. Now I get to create my own video game.
Ultimate hack. Yeah.
Yeah. It literally, it's so funny that you say that because it's like literally what they were saying. Like, I think I was listening to something in the background about like somebody was talking about biohacking and they just come in and they're like, these people are talking about biohacking, like screw biohacking, like literally just like reality hacking, like reality hacking.
Because existence hack.
Yeah. Well, when you reality hack, you biohack, right? It's like we can get so caught up in all these little supplements, but it's like
it's all the minutia that drives us crazy.
But that's where we're still playing the 3D game, which I do, right? But it's like realizing there's more available. Like I actually don't need anything. I don't need any tools outside of me. I don't need any supplements. Like I don't need crystals, right? Like I don't actually need anything outside of me to shift my entire reality. I just need my brain, my awareness, my presence, right?
And how empowering is that?
That's the truth. So that's the theme this week in the forum. If you're not already in there, make sure you check it out. Presence. And I have been reflecting on that journal prompt a lot because I realize just like huge shifts in my own life when I'm in this period of being truly present every moment versus I get pulled out of that presence and I have to take responsibility for that, right? But what are the things I do that pulls me out of that being present? Honestly, a big factor in it is who I am around, and also how often I'm around people. Like for me personally, and this could be a very like second line, like hermit thing, but like I need to be by myself, but I think everybody probably needs a lot more alone time than they're used to personally. So having that time, right? And slowing down, not rushing things. I also notice if I up my consumption of any type of external media, that isn't very specifically something like I'm consciously choosing to help me be present and help me reflect and help me grow personally. Like if I'm watching more TV or more movies or like, just like, I just get pulled out of it. It literally feels like my timeline is just like, I don't even know. I'm always living in the past or the future as opposed to right here and now versus then there are phases where I'm fully in the present and that's when I'm in the most flow. And I think for a long time, I lived always in the past or the future. And then I had this stark difference through all this personal work. And like my norm is more living in the present, which is why I don't really traditionally meditate. I didn't need to. And then if I notice myself get pulled out, which honestly, like since like since living with somebody, it has been harder. It was much easier for me when I lived by myself. And so I've had to retrain myself and notice like, where am I getting pulled out into this like other stuff that's going on, which is taking me out of just being in my now. And so that's been a dance, but that is where your intuition opens up. Like that is just where you see things clearly. That's where you can see things from a higher perspective, because so often people perceive something and they immediately think, like, if you think of it as a timeline, they think left or right rather than let me go above to get a larger perspective. Does that make sense? That's like how they show it visually.
Yeah. It's funny when you were talking about the media, the first thing that came to mind for me was, okay, not gonna lie, I am watching The Bachelorette right now.
Same.
I'm very selective. Okay. I love Katie. Okay. I'm very selective because I have noticed how much it affects me. Like you and I have talked about this. But I typically reserve my dream time for doing some deeper work. Like I honestly, every night before I go to bed, I set the intention that either I want to clear this or I want to get clarity around this or I want to heal this. But ever since this show has come back, I'm like dreaming about The Bachelorette every Monday night.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Like my dreams are so susceptible to being influenced by whatever happened in my day. And I'm like, no, not going to happen. I need to do some like clearing work after The Bachelorette at 10 p.m. right when it ends, right before I go to bed. But yeah, it's funny. And then also like I was reflecting kind of myself on what are some of the things that probably people don't realize are pulling them out of the moment that are the most common. And I 100% think like push notifications, for example.
Oh, totally.
It's like, it's like stop everything you're doing because X, Y, and Z is going live on Instagram right now. Or like this person has a new post. And so I have definitely narrowed down what I allow to come through on my phone.
It's one of the smallest things, but that's one of the biggest things I'll say, like from a business coaching perspective, that with clients, it's like one of the biggest things. You know, it's like, I remember on the mastermind call, this came up and like a couple months ago and everybody was like, wait, you have notifications on your phone? Like, no. Like we were all talking. We're like, no, you can't.
Wait, guys, that's step one.
It's like literally one of the biggest things that screws up entrepreneurs in terms of their productivity and like their mental health. Like, because you're always living in response.
Yeah, it's very closely tied to boundaries, right? Like, but you need to set boundaries with you being able to have your personal space and your personal time and like being able to enjoy the moment. So aside from just like, you know, client and coach boundaries or employee and boss boundaries, you need to have boundaries with your time and your energy. And I think that's where, you know, turning off your notifications can also help you be very present.
Totally. I'll also add, like, I think this is big with the morning routine thing. Like I did that morning frequency episode. Like the morning is one of the most, this is when you set your frequency for the day. It is so important. And people will immediately like live in reaction and pull themselves out of being present. And like, if you can in the morning first saying like, what am I doing to be present with myself, to actually tune into how do I feel? Like emotionally, physically, what do I want today? What is my intention? Like it changes your entire day, and that actually sets your frequency so that you are more present in everything that comes up throughout your day, rather than feeling dragged around, right? And so what in your morning routine is really allowing you to reflect and have you time and tune into like, how do I feel? What do I want today? What did I dream about last night? Like all of that is super important. In your morning routine. And then I'll also say just in personal, like this ties into intuition, but like in personal interactions, how do I describe this? Okay. A strength I've always had is being able to communicate with people, like in a way, adjusting my communication, open throat, right? To get them to understand, right? Like I tend to be good at that. And part of that is presence. Right. And so this is a skill that serves you so well in business. It serves you so well in personal relationships. It's being able to read the different layers of what's going on in the moment. And a lot of people don't. Okay. It's like, let's say I'm talking to you, Kelsey, or you're talking to me. Right. you're talking to me and I'm fully present. So I'm fully receiving what you're saying. And that's not just the actual words. It's first of all, yes, I'm fully hearing your words, but I'm also, because I'm fully present, I can tune into the different layers, the different frequencies of what you're saying. So that's how I'm able to tell, well, Kelsey's saying this one thing verbally, but what she's actually saying, what's underneath that is XYZ. Right? I can see your body language. I can feel your energy. I'm able to see those different layers. And that's also part of a, podcast interviewing skill. This is a communication skill, being able to really hear somebody. That's so often when I'll have a friend say something to me or a client, right? And they're really distraught or upset, and they'll say something and I'm fully present in what they're saying. And I can pick up and I'll say, okay, but let's actually talk about this. And how did I know to bring up this? Right? Because I was fully present in the moment and I'm not just hearing what they're saying and automatically living in the future. It's so interesting how many people, when they're having a conversation, they are already thinking about what they're going to say next. You're not being present.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. I think it's so funny too, because people get so fixated on like, how do I tap into my intuition? It's like, do you know how to be present with yourself first? Because I feel like that is a key piece that is missing.
Well, that's the main thing. And it's like the thing that's going to help you open up your intuition, get to know yourself the most, is the thing that people resist, which is literally like just sit and be by yourself. Like just literally be present.
Get to know yourself, which requires presence. Yeah.
Yeah. But even like without, okay, so I'll have like different levels of presence. All right. So I have periods of time, just to like get logistic, right? I will have periods of time when I'm sitting and I'm doing like work. I'm like doing energy work. So I might be doing actual like energy work, right?
Yeah.
Grounding, clearing, balancing. Then I might be doing like, I'm doing brain rewiring, personal work, like reflecting on this, like reading something, journaling, like that kind of work where I'm very present. I have periods where like every single day, multiple times a day, I literally just, I like kind of like body scan, like, right. I'm like, what am I feeling here, here, here? Where is this? Where am I feeling this? Right? Being present in that way in my physical body. But I also have a good amount of time. I have to have this. I've always been like this. Like I will just sit or I'll lay, whatever. And I literally just do nothing. Like I'm just doing nothing. Like I could just lay on my bed and stare at the ceiling for like hours and I'm not thinking about anything. I'm literally just there.
People need more of that.
I'm literally just there. And I didn't realize that was a thing that other people didn't do, but I really think this is a big key to my success.
You know what? I've actually found there are moments when I feel like so bored of everything. Like no amount of TV or reading or anything could interest me. And all I crave is doing just that. And I feel like that really hit me a lot during lockdown, actually, which is funny because people are complaining about being bored. And like there I was choosing to lie on my bed and literally do nothing. Like no amount of external stimulation could satisfy me. And I just wanted to like sit there and not think about anything.
Well, this goes back to like fullness, right? Satiety and like what makes us feel full and where it's just like satiation, satisfaction.
Consumption culture.
Yeah. People try and fill themselves up by watching another TV show, hanging out with friends, and they just keep going. And one is enough because what they're really missing is that presence, that completion within themselves and just being, right?
Yeah.
The same way it's like people who they're hungry and they keep eating because they're not digesting their emotions, right? They're not like feeling what they want to feel. And it all goes back to your relationship with yourself and presence with yourself for sure. And that's like, it's a very important skill. And I was thinking about this, like also in the context of receiving, right? Feminine energy. People can get really caught up in this and what it looks like. But the key with feminine energy is really just is being present, right? And part of being in the energy of receiving, like if you can be in the energy, one of my coaches said this to me and she said, it's about receiving life. And I was like, that's exactly what it is. It is receiving every moment of your life, right? And so it doesn't have to be some magical, like it doesn't have to be some significant moment. You make every single moment magical and significant when you're fully present and fully feeling what is now. And I'm fully receiving everything in life, right? I don't need to be doing anything that I might label spectacular from another lens, but rather every moment is spectacular because I'm fully present in it. And with that message I had sent to you, that channel message, like they said something along the lines of like squeezing every bit of juice out of the lemon that is life. Like That is literally what it is, right? Every single moment has so much juice to it. And are we really being in, like, fully squeezing it, right? Like every single moment, or are we just on to the next? And then we're never really getting all of our nutrients from life, I suppose.
Oh man. Way to bring it full circle.
Mm-hmm.
First of all.
Back to the lemons. I am very intentional with what I put in and on my body. And I really believe that you don't have to sacrifice your favorite foods or tastes when you eat a whole foods based diet. And one of my favorite drinks that brings me back to childhood, it's one of my favorite healthy hacks for feeling like I am drinking fruit punch, is Organifi red juice. It has less than 1 gram of sugar per serving. So many healthy ingredients that help to naturally boost your energy. There is no caffeine. It boosts energy naturally with herbs, medicinal mushrooms, and antioxidants. I love to drink this in the afternoon for a little bit of extra energy, and it literally makes me feel like I'm drinking fruit punch. I just mix a scoop with some water and I feel amazing, taste amazing. Some of the ingredients are beets, which are great for supporting detoxification, actually has been shown to help increase exercise performance. Acai, which has 10 times the antioxidants of most fruits. Cordyceps, which is also another great natural source of energy. Siberian ginseng, another adaptogen that supports immunity and mental alertness. It is such a great pick-me-up in the afternoon and tastes so delicious. I always keep a few of the to-go packs in my purse, and people always ask me what that red juice is that I'm drinking. It is Organifi red juice. So good. And another one of my faves is Organifi Gold. So great for the evenings. Has so many incredible ingredients that help to wind me down before bed, including organic reishi extract, which is great for rest and relaxation, a very grounding mushroom. There is also turkey tail, which has powerful immune supporting properties, antiviral properties, and helps to support digestion, plus magnesium chloride, great for relaxation, relieving anxiety, muscle recovery. It's such a yummy elixir that winds me down before bed, and it tastes like this really delicious instant golden milk. All you have to do is add a scoop to hot water. You can add in a little bit of nut milk if you want it to be a little creamier. It is so delicious. And you know me, I'm focusing a lot on my sleep, always so important. And this really helps me to wind down in the evening. And I really notice a difference if I don't drink this. So if you want to try out Gold or red juice or any of Organifi's other products, then don't forget you can use my code for 20% off. Head to Organifi.com/CTC. That's spelled ORGANIFI.com/CTC. And that code CTC will get you 20% off. Again, that's Organifi.com/CTC, Organifi with an I. And that code CTC will get you 20% off. And just a warning, I'm not responsible if you get addicted to Organifi. Enjoy.
I'm curious if your guides have anything else to say around this.
Let's see. Well, a lot of this is about, they're just saying a lot of it goes back to emotions, right? Which is why like emotional awareness and learning tools to feel emotions and release emotions. This management of emotions doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good because it teaches people like it's like the term managing anxiety. I mean, why would you manage anxiety when you can get rid of it?
Right. Heal it.
You can heal it. Like you can, right? And we have so many, this is a lot of actually, conditioning of believing that we can only manage certain things, managing chronic illness. Like I believe we can heal, like, and so they're saying like, and even in the language that we're using for ourselves, again, going back to what you believe is your reality, like what is your brain believing? And if you're believing what I can only manage this, then you are putting a cap on the capacity that your body has to heal. Like you're already limiting yourself because you're deciding I can only manage this.
Yeah. Yeah. You're disempowering yourself. Like you're putting yourself in the victim position.
So there's that, but they're saying like the big thing here for most people is The big thing here for most people is that they avoid their emotions. And a lot of people, even when they think that they feel their emotions, they still haven't even gone there. I will say, from my personal perspective, I see this all the time. I have people close to me who like to tell me that they're very emotionally aware. And I'm like, dude, you're not. Like, it's like totally tip of the iceberg, right? I don't think people realize how deep they can go. And there's
Dude,
a lot.
I cry like daily.
Yeah, right. It's like,
and I'm not ashamed. I'm like, to my boyfriend, I'm like, listen, I'm healing and it's going to be like 3 hours. So.
It's good stuff, right? This is the healing. It's like, it's just feeling.
You can't go anymore.
Yeah, it's feeling. Well, this is where people have labeled emotions like good or bad, but it's like, it's just emotion. Let it move through you. It has to get out somehow. Yeah. And this is, again, the root of a lot of issues. A lot of gut issues are unprocessed emotions, undigested emotions. That are literally just stored as energy, like we haven't digested them. And so like really letting ourselves feel them. What I will also add, like my personal experience when I was young, I used to feel things so intensely that my coping mechanism was just to shut it off because it physically hurt. Like I remember just crying so hard so often that my whole body, I thought it was going to break in half. And so I was like, I can't do this. Right. But then I was just shutting off my emotions instead of like learning.
Honestly.
Yeah. You know, and
empath problems.
Yeah. And I think, I was thinking with the empath thing a lot the other day, and I was like, I'm so sick of like being an empath is a gift. Like being an empath is such a gift, and people use it as a like that it's a hardship, a weakness, right? And it's like, yeah. Any powerful gift, you're going to feel a downside to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can find a pro and a con to anything, but it's like a very powerful gift. And not everybody, like if you have that, you were gifted that because not everybody can handle it, but you were given it because you can handle it and because it's such a powerful gift. But yeah, feeling the emotions, processing the emotions, avoiding the emotions or avoiding the truth. Again, this goes back to the frequency of truth and how triggering that is for people. Because if I'm present with myself, now I can suddenly, like, awareness will be brought to what in my life is not in alignment with my truth. What in my life is not in alignment with where I really want to be. Where am I not happy? Where am I avoiding XYZ? Whatever we're avoiding comes up as soon as we're present. So people will avoid being present. And even with, I'm not going to say anything like 100%, but I do know people who need a guided meditation to meditate. And I'm not against guided meditations. Obviously, I like create them. I think they're super helpful. I use them sometimes, but if that's the only way you can meditate, there's still more you can expand through. There's still more you can push further where you don't have to be guided.
Yeah, ask yourself why you feel like you need one. Is it just because you don't know, like you're unfamiliar with the process and you want to become familiar with how to meditate? Or is it a crutch because you don't want to let yourself be still with your thoughts? I went through that too. I like only recently started exploring my own, like I do my own self-guided meditation basically in my head, but like practicing being fully present in a meditative state it's challenging and shit comes up. Yeah. And so whether or not like that's the reason we consciously try to avoid things like that, I think it's important to recognize. But again, that's how you become aware.
Totally. Another way that this manifested for me was I used to hate music without words. I couldn't listen to it. I was so bored. And now I much prefer music without words. I much prefer just like, but that
ambient
was like
sounds.
Yeah, because I wanted the words to distract me.
Right.
That was like the subconscious, like I needed the words to distract me to like keep my mind occupied. But literally like, and this is the thing, when I'm channeling, the skill is I create a blank slate. It's just open space. Right. And like we've talked about, I do my best channeling when there isn't any intention. Right. Like I often resist the questions. Like sometimes like, they're helpful to guide what's supportive for people. But like when I'm channeling just for me, I don't bring in a question. Like it's just blank slate and everything is brought directly to me. And in your everyday life, being fully present in the conversation, being fully present in what you're doing, you're going to experience so much richness, so much more like a richer life, right? You're going to see the different layers, right? Have better communication, be in receiving mode much more often. And when you're in receiving mode in every moment, that allows you to receive your manifestations, that allows you to receive more money, like all of the things that we block ourselves from receiving because we're always in masculine energy, we're always in doing, we're always in thinking. When you make that shift to be present in your daily life, now you're always in receiving. And so you can actually consistently receive the things that you're calling in. That's a huge thing for people.
Good point.
Right? So that's like going back to like manifestation lifestyle. What else do we want to say here? And the time expansion piece, right? Because the way we perceive every moment, like, okay, you shift time when you're fully present every single moment because you're squeezing everything out of it.
Yeah. It's like people living in flow, right? Their perception of time is going to be completely different than someone that feels like they're struggling through the same task.
Exactly. So it's all in shifting how we perceive what we're doing. Or it's like, you know, those moments where time is, you're in a time warp, you're at lunch, you're at coffee or lunch with a friend, and you guys are just having such a stimulating conversation, and it feels like it's one moment. You're so present in it. It's like one huge moment that's so rich, and then you're like, holy shit, it's been 5 hours. How did I get here?
Yeah.
Right? You're in that time warp because you're so present. You're so present in it, you know, versus
me and my
like,
boyfriend's first date was 6 hours long.
Yeah.
And we're like, wait, the bars are closing. What's happening?
I know. Yeah. I mean, Parker had picked me up at like 10 a.m. and we went home at like 8:30. Like we were stuck in one location. I was like, oh shit. Like, right. We're getting kicked out. But it's true. Like you experience that time warp. And I know I love that topic of time expansion. Right. And I feel like all these nuggets come in, but that's one of the biggest places where people are in lack. People are in lack energy, scarcity, because I don't have enough time. Well, when you're actually present, right? I've been playing with this, especially my morning routine, where if I think about it logistically, I'm like, okay, in my morning, I want to go out and walk. I want to exercise. I want to do my journaling. I want to channel. Like I have all these things. And if I look at it logistically, I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going to finish this by when I have this first call or whatever it is. Okay. But if I wake up and I'm like, what feels yummy? Right? What do I want to do? And I literally just every single moment go off of what I want to do. I somehow complete like 20 different things in the span of like an hour, and it all fits in. It all fits in because I'm present through all of it. I'm not mapping it out. Right. And this is where it's literally playing at a higher frequency. Like our whole life shifts when we decide which rules of the game are like, which rules am I going to abide by? Because that's going to be your reality. And that's something that I always have to remind myself of. Like they'll tell me this. They're like, stop playing in the lower realms. Like where I find myself like drag is when I'm like halfway up here, halfway down here. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to play 3D down here because then I'm just kind of messing up the results. Like I need to commit to the higher frequency. And then I just let everything like ride through on that wavelength as opposed to trying to like mix it up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mix and match.
I mean, it's very relevant in business, right? We talked about this. Like this was a big shift. I was like trying to explain, like I can't have bits of my business that feel so 3D. And then like everything needs to be at the same frequency. Everything has to be upgraded to the same frequency, like in terms of intention and how I'm creating and all of that. It's a huge shift because anywhere where I'm pulled back down, like it's not resonant. And also what's a vibrational match for me, right? If I tried to build my business in a way that like logistically made sense, it would not work. It just wouldn't work for me. You know? I think there's also that level of like human design, right? Like, okay, Kelsey is all left arrows, quad left. And I'm quad right.
By that?
I was like kind of surprised, but I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
But it's like you're designed for like the structure, the routine. Like that is your flow, right? For me, that is not my flow. And so
you're the opposite.
Messes me up, right? So it's like where am I naturally at? Like what's best for me personally, my energy flow. And then in terms of perspective, right? Like in terms of perspective, it's so funny to me. It's like people will pick and choose what decisions they make out of, they consciously decide, well, this I'm choosing out of love. I'm not choosing out of fear. But then this decision over here, I'm for sure choosing out of fear because it doesn't make sense to my logical brain to make this other choice, right? Like they will pick and choose. It's like, I mean, now you're just confusing your brain.
It feels comfier to be in 3D here.
Yeah.
And it feels comfier to be in 5D here. It's like, that's not really the point.
Right? It's like, there's no right or wrong, but it's just awareness. And what I have found is like when we are flip-flopping frequencies all the time, it's just harder. Like it takes you out of the flow of it,
It's confusing.
Yeah, it can be kind of like, whoa, it's like it's the frequency gap, right? You get better and better at like, this is what they call energetic resilience. Have I talked about this?
I don't know. Sounds new to me. Let's go with it.
Okay. Well, they go into this more in the book. But basically the idea of energetic resilience, where a lot of people in the like spiritual space will be like, I'm totally avoiding all this that pulls down my frequency, right? And they're basically saying it's like there's a period of time when you're building this up where you need to remove. It's like it's literally like an elimination diet, right? But the point of energetic resilience, it's like you then dip your toe back in and like notice where you're at in terms of frequency. And if it drags you down and really affects you, because the mastery comes when you've built the energetic resilience where you could go fully into a 3D situation and does not affect your frequency at all. You hold the vibration.
Yeah.
And so there's like, it's a process to build that energetic resilience, which made so much sense to me. Right. So, and I noticed like, for sure that shift over time, right? It's like where I can be in awareness of like, whoa, this is like a frequency gap here with this and this person, or this in this situation, this in this TV show, right? I can notice that and be like, I'm in awareness of that, but this used to actively like drag me down. And now I'm like just in awareness of like, oh, there's a gap. It's different.
It's like becoming fat adapted.
Yeah.
You're switching your baseline.
Well, it's metabolic flexibility. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. It's the flexibility piece, because that's the other thing. It's like, if you think about it from that perspective, for a long time, like I got rid of a lot of symptoms and issues because I was super fat adapted. I was keto, but then I created a whole host of other issues because I wasn't metabolically flexible. I couldn't go back to carbs, right? And then I realized, well, this sucks. So then with my diet, I was like, okay, metabolic flexibility. Now I could run off of either. But that can happen, I think, also in like the spiritual space. It's like, where are we in avoidance of things? This is where we're not free. That's the thing. And so noticing where we're avoiding things, because it's different to avoid something versus like, I consciously am aware that will not make me feel the way I want to feel. So I'm choosing a no.
Yeah.
There's a very different energy. And that's the thing. It's like, you can make the same decisions, but what is your intention and energy behind it? Like, how are you thinking about it? That's where the big shift is. So I don't even know how we just got there.
I know. I was just thinking about that.
That's why I love this. This is why I love this.
It all flows together. It's fine.
It all flows together. But this is where, and again, like they're just talking about like, this is the holistic piece where when people are separating out, like, this is my career, this is my personal life, this is my personal work. It's like, it's all connected. It's all vibration, right? Like, what is the frequency that you're bringing into each of these different aspects? And if you think that you are going to build the business of your dreams and be able to do that without addressing these issues in your relationships, you're fooling yourself. Like, it is all connected. And I'll say, like, when looking at abundance, scarcity mindset, it's not just about limiting beliefs with money. It's like, well, where are you desperate to find a boyfriend? Right? That's lack. And that's affecting your relationship with money too. And like, that's where people kind of miss it because they think it's all separate. And it's not. Or like your restrictive patterns with food, right? When I'm restricting, if somebody's restricting with food, well, that's also where you're in scarcity, and that could be affecting money coming in, which like people don't always put together, right? But it's like, it's fullness. I want to feel full and nourished in all areas of my life. I'm going to receive health. I'm going to receive abundance in the form of love and money and health and healing. Like that's all, those are different manifestations of abundance. And, you know, you want to start looking at the specific area of your life, but if you feel like, why is nothing budging over here? Like, why is nothing budging in my business? Why am I not getting clients? Well, like, look over there.
Yeah.
Because it's all part of you, you know? Okay. Anyway, let's just see if there's did you have anything to add to that?
I don't.
Okay. Let's just see if there's anything else that they want to. So the other thing that they're saying is like this aspect of joy and play. I have been talking to quite a few people about this. It's like you'll feel like you're missing something when you don't have that inner child, like that fun, that play filled in. And that for a lot of people is like, that's another common missing piece. It's like not actually fun. It's, you know, inner child, like just play the things that lit you up as a kid. But they're saying that this is another piece of presence. It's a lot of people actually like, they don't even know how to have fun anymore. And they don't know how to play because they're so pulled out of the present moment. When you're having fun as a kid, like, you ever look at little kids and they're playing with like a block and it's the funnest.
They're so in their own world.
It's so fun. It's like they just have like a block, you know, it's like
a chunk of wood. And
yeah. It's like
having the time of your life.
Yeah. It's like the most fun thing. Like, and so fun is in that presence because they're so present, right? They're like creating a whole world off of just being in the now and like this one blade of grass. You know, I remember I used to just sit on the grass and I remember just like playing with the
blade. Yeah. I did that too. Yeah.
Pull apart a blade
for hours.
It was so fun, right? But that's like a big part of the play, the fun, the joy. And this is how this is magnetism, right? Ecstasy, joy, fun, like pure happiness. This is what makes you magnetic. And this is in why anything you're doing, right? If you're in a conversation with somebody, people are going to be drawn to you, right? They will be attracted to you in whatever context when you are like fully amplifying your magnetism, which is having fun, which is being in joy, right? That's just electric. That's so attractive for people. And in terms of like content, for example, you're a content creator. If you are not like, okay, I'll say it this way, being present, right? Having so much joy, like having fun, people feel that. Like I have so much fun on these, right? You really feel the energy difference. And some people literally get on their podcast and they read a script.
A script, yeah.
And it sounds so like boring. I don't want that, right? Like you can just, it's different. Like I always tell my clients this, I'm like, with every single piece of content you create, like be in it. Like don't just make it just to make it. Like every piece of content is working for you. Every piece of content is gonna meet somebody. And what's the frequency that you want them to meet in that piece of content, right? It is that joy. Yeah. It is that fun. It is that play. And when people pick up on that vibration, it's probably subconscious, right? But they're going to feel that and they're going to be like, ooh, I want more of this. I want to be in that person's energy. I want to learn more from them because people want to have fun. I mean, think about school, right? Kids learn more when they're having fun. And a lot of kids do not learn anything because they're not present. It's really boring. It's super dry, right? So, I mean, this is a really valuable tool for business, for interpersonal relationships. Like it's amplifying your magnetism. It's attracting in your manifestations. It's being in that receiving mode. Like as we talk, I'm sure you can see, like the point is everything comes back to presence. Like when you are present, your entire life opens up. This is also, they're saying healing. Like they're saying like, this is also the key. Like this is as a byproduct of learning to be present, you will regulate your nervous system and get yourself back into parasympathetic state. And, you know, that's why a lot of people stay sick because we're like constantly in stress mode, whether or not we realize it. And like when you practice being in presence, like you're going to regulate your nervous system. And this is where the body can actually regenerate and heal. So that's another big piece as well. That's like, you can take something so simple like presence and you see how this unlocks, like energetically unlocks everything.
I love that.
Right. And so it's like, It's so interesting. I'm just thinking about how I used to always worry about the future. Like I used to always worry about the future. And it's interesting because I do like to plan things, but it doesn't take me out of my now, which I've actually had this this discussion with Parker where he's like, I always tell him like, stop worrying about the future. And then he's like, well, you always want to plan. He doesn't like to plan. I'm like, well, but actually when I plan things, it actually helps me be more present because I don't have to worry about, it's like, oh, cool, we're going to go there then. Yeah, it got taken care of. There's a slot for that. That's happening. And then I'm fully in my now because I don't have to worry about anything else. So it's like, that's another aspect. If you feel like you have all these things floating around in your brain, I'm a massive list writer. I have so many notebooks. You probably see me. I have like a different notebook every time, right? I have like so many Post-its and notebooks. And I have this, like the whiteboard. I want to get a bigger one. I just write it all out. So it's somewhere, like all the notes on my phone. And this allows me to be more present because when things are floating around in my brain, then I'm like worried about, well, when is that going to get done? Right? Like this is where brain dumping before you go to sleep, because if you're worried about, oh, I need to remember that tomorrow, or like, what if that doesn't get done? Just write it all out. And then you have a list the next morning, you can deal with it then. These are all like really simple things that people can do to get in their present moment, like be fully here. You know, it's like when I don't have anybody in my life like this now, but I used to for sure, people who I would go out to. This is kind of a food blogger problem, but even more so, right? Like you go out to lunch with somebody and they're on their phone and I'm like, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Like, and you're just scrolling on your phone. Like, am I that boring? I mean, you're somewhere else. You just missed that whole lunch with somebody because you're on Instagram.
Yep.
I mean,
social media.
That is not,
it's literally designed to do that to you.
That is not raising your frequency. That is what I will tell you.
Yeah.
But this is how you access information. This is how you access the higher information. It is being present and feeling into those different layers. You get so much more, like the richness of every sentence somebody says when you are fully aware, right? It's kind of like I can't multitask the way I used to. I don't want to. Like when I listen to a podcast, I want to just listen. If I'm driving and listening, I'm like, I miss half of it.
That's been a huge lesson for me too. Even with work, like I actually find I enjoy tasks that I thought I didn't like when I'm actually sitting there, like rather than trying to listen to something and like, I don't know, even respond to emails. Like there's such a different energy, you know what I mean? So, but that can carry through in so many different areas of your life.
Yeah, I love what you just said. They were saying like this is where people distract themselves to get through it, when actually the higher vibrational way is to enjoy their way through it. It's like, so you think I'm not going to like this task, so I'm going to distract myself through it. I'm going to have this on in the background and that's going to make it more enjoyable. But actually that is avoidance still, right? And so instead of distracting yourself through it, if you're fully present in it, you get it done faster. You could actually like squeeze some more out of it. And this is also the same mindset people have around emotions, right? It's like, I'm going to distract my way through this.
It's much more efficient to just feel it and release it and move on.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like chronic anxiety, energetically, this is like being, let me just describe it energetically because they're just showing me this. Like chronic anxiety that people feel, it is being really open energetically, not having energetic boundaries, and then like trying to process everybody's stuff all the time, combined with it is like having this never ending, like, I don't know, hole of emotions within you that you're just never actually feeling. So it just always feels like a low grade buzzing, a low grade anxiety. So it's like not being present with your thoughts, your feelings, not fully feeling your emotions. Then they all just, imagine them all getting added into like a bag, right? Oh, and you're carrying it around. And then it's like, I feel heavy all the time because you're dragging it all around. So it's to start to be aware of your thoughts, be aware of your emotions, to feel your emotions, right? To create boundaries, close off your energy and process things, right? So you can actually create a clean slate and then you don't have that like buzzing all the time.
Yeah.
Which I suppose, like, as I think about it, is very much what my process was. Like I had debilitating anxiety. Like my parents, I feel like they had no idea what to do with me because I like could not be out in the world. Like I was so anxious all the time. And then, it wasn't until I was like 20 or so, like when I really was like, I need to get to the bottom of this. And I had seen all kinds of therapists and psychiatrists and tried like all the traditional routes, and like it just wasn't getting me anywhere until I started doing energy healing, brain rewiring, my spiritual work. Like, to be honest, that was just for me personally, because I was finally feeling things, processing them through my body, right? Like they had to come out through the channels, and like I was rewiring those thoughts, right? So I wasn't running, the things I was running on a loop were supporting me, not bringing me down, and not, you know what I mean? It's like, what are we actually anxious about? I started to really like, what am I actually nervous about here? Right? Because worrying about it, it's like, people say this all the time, but it's true. It's like worrying about it is just, I'm going through the misery of, if that does happen, I'm going through it multiple times. But
it's a waste of time, actually.
It's a waste of time, but that's also where you are magnetizing things that you don't want, right? Because your energy is focused
more energy to
on what you don't
timeline.
Want.
Yeah. 100%.
So it's like, when I realized the power of my brain, it was actually so much easier. I was like, whoa, I say, no, thank you. I don't want that. Right. So sometimes if anything pops up in my head, that's like, I'm just like, oh no, thanks. I don't want that. I want this timeline. And I'm like, great, this one. Right. Just because it pops in your head doesn't mean you have to take it on as your own. You don't have to internalize it. You don't have to own it. It's just like, not for me today. No, thank you. I actually want this one. Right. Like this is what I'm choosing. And then this is you mastering your brain. This is you. I'm focusing on this. I'm magnetizing this. And then now you choose your timeline.
Yeah. And that's what brain rewiring is all about too.
So
let go what doesn't serve you.
Exactly.
Choose something different.
That's it. That is that's the hack. That's the reality hack. It's all in your brain and in your energy. There you go. Okay. Well, I feel complete. Do you feel complete?
I feel very complete now.
Okay, great. So I hope this was helpful in terms of presence. We would love to hear what you have to say about this. Definitely let us know. And if you do enjoy the show, be sure to leave a rating and a review on iTunes. I so appreciate when you do that. I know the whole team does. There's a lot of time and energy that goes into this show. And we try and provide as much value as possible. So we just so appreciate when you leave those iTunes ratings and reviews. They make a huge difference, and it only takes about a minute. So go ahead and do that now if you want to send out some good vibes into the universe and receive tenfold back. And be sure, if you're not already in the free private forum, then be sure to check that out. If you go to christinathechannel.com/membership, then you can join there, and that's where I post those weekly journal prompts, the weekly theme, energy updates, connect with the community, all that good stuff. So that's what we have for you today. Thanks again so much for tuning in. Hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and we will chat with you again next time. Bye, guys.